Hello guys, today I would like to briefly touch upon the emergence of nationalism. I'm going to start from hunter-gatherers and I'm gonna end up in French Revolution. It might seem like it is not very, but quite long period of time. So that's why let's start. You know that after a certain period of time in Europe, hunter-gatherers, they start to settle down. And by settling down, they're starting to produce more than they need. They're starting to having reserves. And as you might understand, they needed someone who's going to have a look on it, who's going to keep it safe. And they're putting that person over there. And since that person's role is just to look after it, he was having a lot of free time, and he was able to observe the natural events, the nature, the weather, the stuff around happening, going on. And because of this, that person, he was getting a lot of knowledge. And as you might understand, at that time, people, if there was someone who had a lot of knowledge and who was pointing and saying, this is going to be like that, or this is going to be like that, they started to believe that this person is special. And actually, these people, they were using this in order to what? In order to support their divinity. And this is actually how future landlords are going to emerge. So after some certain period of time, we are going to have these people who are going to, let's say, centralize the small units, villages, and after some time they will become the landlords. And other people, they will be working under them and under their protection. We don't have still a centralized state, we cannot talk about it, but now we can talk about the feudalism starting from the 5th century of current era. And these landlords, they were protecting the peasants under them, and of course peasants, they were producing the crops, they were producing the goods, and they were giving some certain part to the lord, and the rest was for them. They were producing as much as they need. There wasn't any surplus. And normal, of course, you would think if you would think in the way today as we think today, you would say by why they're not investing, why landlords, they're not investing this, let's say, goods or capital surpluses into anything. Well, because they didn't need it. Why? Because in the case if there was a decrease in the efficiency in production, that landlord, he could actually fill this gap by taking the goods of peasants away from them. And because of this, they weren't investing it. But you know that 14th and 15th centuries in Europe, they were indeed chaotic, because we can observe the plague, we are observing a lot of wars, particularly between France and UK and other European states. And this actually has decreased the number of peasants and also the power and authority of the landlords. And since the efficiency has dropped, the production has dropped, landlords, they started taking away a lot of peasants' goods. And of course peasants, they weren't satisfied with this situation, and they started to run away. But where? Yes, they were running away to the cities. And landlords, they started to lose the power, they started to lose the authority with some certain period of time. And these people, they were coming to the cities. And let's hold this thing on one side. On another part, as you remember, 15th century, it was a truly pivotal moment in the history. Why? Because we're having weakening state. We have weakened states, European states, particularly the Byzantine Empire. And as you remember, in 1453, there was a conquest of Constantinople by the Fatih Sultan Mehmed, and this was a tremendous, drastic change for the Europe. Why? Because they had only one road, Silk Road, which was going from the Europe to India and to China as well, and they needed spices, they needed other goods, and there wasn't any other way to get it. So right now, Europe, it started to wake up after facing so much hardships and obstacles on their way. Particularly, there were two states who did it. Of course, we would expect some Mediterranean city-states to do it, but they didn't have that power because they still were under the papacy authority, let's say. It were papal states, so they couldn't do really much. But we have two centralized European states, Spain and Portugal. You know, especially Spain, after finishing the period of Reconquista, they were truly centralized states. So we see that there were guys like Columbus and Marco Polo and Vasco da Gama and Amerigo Vespucci, and the crowns, they gave them money in order to go and search for alternative routes to the India. And of course, they have unwittingly found other continent, Latin America, yeah, as we call it today, Las Americas, and they claimed it on the behalf of the Portuguese and Spanish crown, and this conflicts, they were resolved by the church, by the Pope, and they have claimed the Las Americas. And right now, what we see is that other European states, they also joined the let's say age of discoveries, particularly UK and Netherlands. They also started trying to find other territories, and they end up finding the Northern America. And what they did, they were going there to the Americas, and they were getting the raw materials, and they were bringing it to the Europe, to the UK and continental Europe. And actually, this was a surplus. This was additional surplus because already there was surplus, particularly in UK, and right now they were stealing these goods from Americas and bringing it to Europe, bringing it to the UK. And now they didn't need to work as much as they were working before. Why? Because they're already stealing it from another continent. They're enslaving the people from the Africa. They're having paid workers from Asia, from Asian countries, and they already have massacred like hundreds of thousands of natives who refused to work. They resisted them, particularly the Spanish colonizers. They have wiped out the whole civilizations of Azteca and of Inca, etc. And after that, we also see that Europe is getting integrated and cities are continuing to expand and enlarge. And as I said, people started to have more free time, and they're having surplus. So now what they are starting to do, they're starting to invest this surplus, particularly into textile machines manufacturers. This is how the whole technology development will begin. And after a certain period of time, they're starting to have manufacturers. And now the understanding of labor is also changing, understanding of capital is also changing. And as I told you, all these people who ran away from the landlords were in the city, and they needed a job, and they were coming to the manufacturers, and they were working there. But now we're having a problem. All these people are coming from politically, economically, and linguistically isolated units, villages, let's say, and they're having totally different beliefs and cultures and languages. So now we're having Gellner, let's say, and his nationalism ideas, but of course it's going to come after. Now we need one common language, and we need some certain basic fundamental knowledge for everyone to have. And this is how we're going to have a national education. Why? Because you need to unite these people, how they're going to communicate with each other. And we're having national education at this point. And since the city they start to enlarge, they are start to become kind of center of attracting people. Everyone starts to come there because the labor there, manufacturers are there, other traders are also coming there, other people who had some capital they're starting to come there, and we can observe the accumulation of capital in one place, and this is what we call central economy. And as you can understand, after having central economy, we need to have what? We need to have regulations enforced by this centralized state. And because of this, we're starting to have a central legal, standardized legal system. And don't forget that normally there were three classes. There was a nobility, clergy, and the peasantry. And now we are having totally different people who were paid by the lord, who was renting the lands and who accumulated some wealth, and who moved to the cities and who started to do some kind of trade, etc., etc. And these are the people who are going to become a bourgeoisie class, right? And the problem was that they weren't even part of the whole system. And when we are coming to France, just before the French Revolution, this bourgeoisie class, they were few, but they were saying that no taxation without representation, because clergy and nobility, they don't pay taxes, but we do. But we're also Frenchmen, we're also citizens of the state, but they knew that they cannot change anything because they're few. And for this reason, they started to become aware that they need to, they need to not move, but to make the whole society resist this situation, resist this state, resist this problematic situation. And what they did, they understood that they cannot do it through the coercion, but through the consent. And they started to make it look like the problems of theirs are the problem of the society. And after that, we're seeing that bourgeoisie became the representatives of them. And right now we're having the whole society as a new etat, as a new state. Etat, yeah, as a new state. And now we're having people who are talking the same common language, who are sharing one national education, who is sharing one common culture, and who ask for representation. And they're not just asking on the behalf of something. They're saying that we are also French citizens. Okay, let us pay, but if you want us to pay, we need to be represented. We need to have a vote. We need to be recognized. And this is how we're going to have French Revolution, and this is how we're going to have a constitution which will be protecting the rights of the people, of the citizens of the French state. And this is basically how the concept of nation is going to be emerged. Thank you. It was quite long, but I hope it was also comprehensible and clear. If you have questions, you can ask me in the comment section. So see you. Bye.